I need to believe in eternal families because I need it to be true.
Yeah.
Because the thought that all I had with my baby was 38 hours is unbearable.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Saints Unscripted. I'm here today with Lizzie and Nate. They're going to share a pretty powerful, emotional experience, their story together with us. And we're both excited and I'm sure humbled to hear this story. So I won't spoil anything, but Lizzie and Nate, do you guys want to just start with whatever you think we need to know as your background, and then we can get into your experience and how that's helped you grow?
About us real quick. We met in Rexburg at BYU, Idaho, on Mutual.
Oh.
It's pretty heartfelt reunion there. But yeah, we dated for about 3 months and then got engaged. And
classic Rexburg story.
Yeah, I was wondering how classic it would be.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, we got married September of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you guys were at the very beginning of Mutual then, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I have an Android and he has an iPhone, and they didn't have the app on the Android store yet. So I would use my roommate's
phone.
I was using my roommate's phone to look at guys on Mutual and
yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah, and then where our story starts in, it was
late 2018.
Late 2018. Yeah. We found out that we were pregnant with twins.
Wow.
And then just led to complications from there.
Yeah. So with twins, there are a lot of complications that can come up, and our twins were identical twins, which there's different types of twins, and there's different complications that can come up with the different types. And so we were diagnosed with this condition pretty early on, and it just meant that they were sharing their fluids, but they were sharing them unequally. And so it created complications. So when I was 16 weeks pregnant, we had already been being monitored more closely. And then when I was 16 weeks pregnant, they were like, okay, well, you're going to need a surgery to correct this. And nowhere in Idaho offered this surgery. And so we were given the option to choose between LA, Seattle. There was another one at one point.
San Francisco,
and Houston. And so we chose Houston because his family lived here. And so it was like a whirlwind of a couple of days. We booked our flight for the day after this appointment where we were told this. We packed up as fast as we could. And then so we flew the next day, and then the day after, it was I think it was a Thursday that we got the appointment. And no, it must have been it was earlier in the week, but within 2 days of having this appointment where we were told I was going to need surgery, I was having the surgery. And it was, they never, I don't know if it would be classified as successful or not, because it did help, but it resolved the initial complication, but then it brought up another related complication. But the good thing is because then they were just sharing blood between the two of them. And so one of them became, but again, they were sharing it unequally. So one of them became anemic, and then the other baby became what's called polycythemic, which is just anemia is not enough red blood cells, and polycythemia is too many red blood cells.
Yeah.
And before the surgery, I want to say before the surgery, the doctor told us we were really close to losing baby B. And the doctor told us, there's a chance this might not save him. We're mostly doing this to save baby A in the event that baby B dies.
Is he the one that was anemic?
No, so after the surgery they switched who was not getting enough.
Oh,
And so yeah. So he was like, it'll take a miracle for this to save baby B. And then one of his colleagues, another doctor who was going to be helping with the surgery, stepped in like immediately, and he was like, but we see miracles here all the time. And it absolutely was a miracle. Because in the next, they came back into my room the next morning to monitor, and they were both looking really good. I was able to be released within, I think, 48 hours of the surgery. But then this other condition came up, and so baby A was really sick before, or baby B was really sick before, and now baby A was really sick. But the good thing is that the new condition was developing more slowly. And so we just kept being monitored. I was admitted for closer observation at 25 weeks pregnant. And then at 26 weeks, baby A was doing really bad. And they were like, the best option now is to have a C-section so that we can work on helping him outside of the womb.
Yeah. So it was July 1st of 2019 that they were actually born. But they were born and immediately put into like a glass case looking things, and they're really small. We weren't allowed to hold them.
They weighed, baby A, who we named Holden, weighed 1 pound 3 ounces, and baby B, who we named Graham, weighed 1 pound 9 ounces. So Graham, for kind of to help people understand how small that is. If a box of 4 sticks of butter is a pound, he weighed about 6 sticks of butter.
Yeah. And do you have to have the tiny diapers this big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still have them somewhere. Yeah.
And how many weeks was that again? I think you said, but I don't remember.
At 26 weeks.
Yeah, 26 weeks exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. We were in the hospital after that for for Lizzie to recover from the C-section. And I think the next morning is when we got the call from the nurses in the NICU that they told us that we needed to go down right away, that Holden, the baby A, was having complications. And yes, we go down there, and there was a team of 3 or 4 doctors and nurses that just gathered around us. We sat down. They all got in a squat position and told us, hey, we've done everything we can do. Holden's not going to make it. And then after that, we're just in shock, crying a lot.
Yeah.
And then, immediately called family, and our bishop, and we're able to do a name and a blessing. Our bishop he basically told us, hey, if you want to, I'll leave work right now and come be with you guys. Which was amazing.
Yeah.
My parents were able to come right away.
My parents lived in Utah, but they had started coming down when we told them that I was going to have a C-section. So they made it later on that day.
Yeah.
And that day for me is the very definition of bittersweet, because it was obviously such a horrible day. But the hospital did so much to give us beautiful memories with him. We were able to bathe him and take lots of pictures and hold him all as long as we wanted. Both sets of grandparents were able to see him and
hold him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like before this all happened, there were members of the ward. Well, at least one member of the ward came and visited us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and what we want people to understand. I mean, our story is sad, but it is amazing what Heavenly Father was able to do for us.
Yeah, like just the fact that like his family lived so close to, so our sons were treated at Texas Children's Hospital, which is like one of the best children's hospitals in the nation. And like just the fact that his family lived closer, because like it's not like he didn't grow up in Houston. They moved there like a few years before. And while I know that like they've talked about the good things of moving here for the rest of their family, like I strongly believe that when, God had them move here. So we had this like really beautiful, awful day with Holden. And then we would spend the next 8 months in the NICU with Graham.
There's still a long road ahead with Graham.
Mm-hmm.
But do you feel that it was more, the doctors were really confident that they would be able to help him? Or was it always like I don't know?
At the beginning, I think they were optimistic.
Yeah.
But like with preemies, especially that early, like the chances are low, and there's lots and lots of complications that can come up. So there was a lot of like, we're optimistic, he's showing us good signs, but like things can always come up that can either mean that, we wouldn't get to take him home, or that his life could be really hard for the rest of his life. And so like I don't remember any days where it was like we thought we would lose him for sure. Like it was there. I don't remember there being any days that things were really bad and we thought we would lose him, but he would improve a little bit and then he would just plateau for a really long time. And that's kind of what kept us there so long. He really struggled with his lungs, and it got to the point where he had made it to CPAP, and then he was on just a nasal cannula, but it just wasn't the support he needed. And so after that, he was just on the nasal cannula for a couple of days, and then he, within a week, was back on the ventilator. And at that point, we started talking with his doctors about a tracheostomy, which is a tube in his like they opened a hole in his neck and put a tube in his neck that we could then hook a ventilator up to. And so we went ahead with that, and he was able to come home on a ventilator, which normally, like, people have seen the pictures of people with the big tube in their mouth. Like you can't take someone home like that.
Yeah.
It's too risky. But with the tracheostomy, we were allowed to take him home.
So after 8 months, you finally could take him home.
8 months.
How much did he weigh then?
13 pounds.
Yeah.
So we were.
He became one of the bigger babies in the NICU.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, okay, that you really almost got me to have actual tears that I've never cried before. But I just had a baby myself, so it's just like imagining your position
close to home.
You have this bittersweet day that you talked about. Since then, what has your relationship with God been since losing Holden, going through such a hard time?
For me, there were definitely times I was, I don't know if I would say angry at God, but I was angry at the situation, and I was upset that was part of his plan for me, because I always felt really strongly that like whatever happens here, like the whole time the pregnancy was complicated, I did feel really strongly that whatever happened was in God's plan for us. I still feel like it's super unfair. But in those times that I've gone to God and I told him like, hey, I'm mad about this and this is unfair, I've never felt like I was in the wrong for being mad about the situation. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being mad about the situations in your life or even being mad at God. I would just encourage people, like, even in those situations, to not let that ruin your relationship with him, like to continue to go to him, even if when you do go to him, all you're telling him is like, hey, I'm really mad at you and I'm really mad that you let this happen.
Yeah. So for me, obviously I was upset, for a while. It did kind of, for a little while, it did kind of feel like we were always hitting a brick wall that we just can't get past. But I had such a good experience on my mission, and I had a really good mission president that still asks about me to this day. But the scripture we would recite a lot was 1 Nephi 3:7. And there's a lot of truth in that scripture. Because when we're committing to do everything that the Lord asks of us, we're signing up for a lot. We're signing up to be like Christ, and that's not an easy thing. I just remember sitting with Graham home, and I mean during those 8 months where he was in the NICU and we were coming home every night without him, I was able to get a job in Houston without even really looking for one, that kept me busy full time. The ward we were in, there was a family that went through something similar, and they were able to give Lizzie rides to the NICU every day, which was like a 45-minute drive there and back.
Yeah.
So Graham got home like February of 2020, and literally just weeks later, everything shut down from the pandemic.
Wow.
So it was impossible to not see that God was taking care of us.
Yeah.
And do I want, gosh, I would love it if Holden were here. We think about that all the time, but I can't lie and say that we have not been strengthened during this whole thing.
Yeah.
And going back to Nephi's promise, that's what he's promising us. He's given us a way, the way so that we can get through whatever he asks of us. And for whatever reason he chose us. And we've definitely been blessed because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about how people ask, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people, right? But I do think that obviously because he doesn't control our lives, but we have to learn things that we just know that we're never alone as we go through those hard things. And I think it's really special that you have been able to recognize just how much you've been guided and helped even through probably like the hardest thing you should hopefully ever have to go through.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. And he's definitely been there for us. And I can see, at least for me in my life, I can see ways that he was preparing me for this my entire life. I have a sister who was stillborn. And so like for my entire life, like the doctrine of eternal families has been so important to me.
Yeah.
And this just really amplified that. Like it's to this point where I need to believe in eternal families because I need it to be true.
Yeah.
Because the thought that all I had with my baby was 38 hours is unbearable. And it, along with, my sister kind of preparing me and helping that me have a foundation of the concept of eternal families. In my testimony, I also my mom has been through a really similar thing, now. And she's lost a child too. And my mom and I, my whole life, have been so close. She's one of my best friends. And so the fact that one of my best friends and my mom, all wrapped up into one, had experienced the same thing, has been such a blessing. Because besides obviously having my husband to go to when I'm struggling, having her to go to, and she really does get it, has been such a blessing.
So that would make Graham how old now?
4. He just turned 4.
Turned 4.
Wow, that's so special. We
We have a God who's very aware of us. He loves us so much. And him being aware of us and him loving us doesn't mean we won't have hard times. We definitely will. Life is really, really hard. There are people who have gone through things that I hear about and I'm like, I don't know how you got through that. That's I don't know. There are times I hear people talk about things and I'm grateful for my trials, that I have my trials and not theirs. But while him loving us doesn't mean we won't have hard things, that doesn't mean he's not there. And I know for me, looking and identifying the ways that he prepared things for us ahead of times and the ways that he provided for us in the hard times has helped me so much. It made it more bearable.
I think we're talking about the purpose of life. There's a lot of victim mentality in the world, but the gospel teaches us to be victors. And that's what I think one of our real purposes is here, is to come out victors from our trials.
And I think you both are, just from this talk that we've had, are really good examples of that. I'm sure that you are inspiring and helping people in your life, whether you know it or you don't. And I know that God has your little baby and you'll see him again. And I believe families are forever. But I just want to thank you so much for coming, for sharing your story and your heart and your testimonies. And if anyone has questions, do you want them to just write them in the comments? Are you gonna be there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And that's it. Thank you guys so much, and everyone have a good day. Bye.
You too. Thank
Thank
you.
you.